Hello everyone, I'm Nesh, and in this video I'll show you how to go from acoustic sounding drums like these to electronic drum and bassy sounding drums which sound a little more like this. So, general housekeeping first. Tool device to set the level so it's the same between recordings. Gate, so we only get the kick signal or just the snare signal or just the hi-hat signal. And because I didn't like what it did to the transient with the attack all the way down, I also added a blur device which delays the signal by 2 milliseconds. And then the gate is sidechained to this here, so that basically the gate opens up 2 milliseconds before the actual signal comes through. Okay, sublayer first. So this is the sublayer. And on the sublayer, what we want is a strong fundamental and a pitch envelope. We can't get the pitch envelope because we're processing acoustic signal, but we're doing it another way. So currently the sound looks like this and sounds like that. So the just gated kick sound. In Bitwig, I'm using the replacer device to make a MIDI note out of the audio signal, and then that MIDI note triggers this envelope, which we can use to modulate parameters. So, first what we use is an EQ to flatten the sound out. So basically it has a as flat as possible frequency profile. Then we use a distortion to make it a bit more like white noise. And then we use a bandpass filter, 4-pole with a high resonance, and the cutoff where at the same frequency that the kick is tuned at. So this gets us, first of all, so without the envelope, this is how it would look like. So just the fundamental, right? And then what we're doing is modulating the cutoff so that we move the cutoff very quickly up and down when we strike the drum. That's how we get that punch. So then a quick transient control to just enhance the first few moments of the transient. So that's a bit louder, and I like to put a tool device at the end of each chain just to monitor the level. And that's the sublayer. Next we have the transient. So for transient what we want is something that's a non-harmonic transient, so it's not related by octaves or by fifths to the original fundamental that we had. We distort it, and then we use an amplitude or an envelope to just have the beginning portion of it. And this is how we're going to do it. Replacer device makes a MIDI note. Note mod device gives us an envelope. And then these are the plugins. So this is how it looks like, and this is how it sounds like. Cool. So as you can see, this harmonic here is not really related in any way to this one. So what I'm doing is boosting it with a filter. I'm using a bandpass filter with a bit of a resonance at this frequency. And then I'm using a bit crusher. In Ableton Live that would be Redux, to basically do this. Downsampling the signal, and with that we get the higher harmonics. Then another filter to just remove some of the low end. As you can see right now and we already have this in the sublayer, so use a high pass filter to remove it. And then we need to just modulate the loudness of this layer, so basically it cuts off right, so we just have the initial transient of a few milliseconds and then it drops away. In Bitwig you accomplish this by just inserting an effects layer onto the chain and you don't put anything in it. So with just like this, no signal will come through it. Once you decrease the mix, here signal will start going through again. So use the envelope to then modulate this. So right at the beginning it's going to open it and then close it again, which makes this. Right? So with the original sublayer it sounds like this. Cool. Next, the most complicated layer of them all. So finally the convolution layer. So currently the sound looks like this and sounds like that. So what we're doing is using an EQ, a transient control, and a compressor. You can remove this if you don't want it. I'm just using it for just to enhance a little bit of the transient. So to make it sound a little more like an actual kick would in a final mix. Again, don't judge me here. This is just very quick, very rough. Remove some frequencies and make it have a amplitude, loudness, contour like it would, like a kick should have, right? So that just fairly basic stuff. So then we insert the convolution reverb into it, and we load the sample of the kick that we want this kick to sound like. So you could use a sampler here, and just load this kick into a sampler. But what I do is I use the convolution reverb, and then when the sound of the actual kick that I play comes into it, it has that sound, and it also has this sound which is loaded into it, and then it does some funny maths to it, and then we have basically something that sounds a lot like this here. So to demonstrate,